Hi Xero fans, my name's James, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the bookkeeping on Xero. We're going to be taking you through the basic elements of bookkeeping. That includes raising invoices, adding your expenses, reconciling your bank accounts, and finally step 4 is checking for errors. These are the 4 really important things that you need to master whenever you do sit down to do your bookkeeping. There are a lot of other videos out there. Xero produces some tutorial videos. To be honest, it's a little overwhelming for new users because they tend to focus so much on the features that the actual basic elements of the bookkeeping tend to go over everyone's head. So that's what we're looking at in this video. If you want to have a look at more advanced features, do check out my future videos. There will be much more to come. Before we start, I just want to tell you that this video is brought to you by my company Xoba, the Xero Accountants. Xoba is a chartered accountancy firm based in the UK, and we provide all sorts of services to Xero users. Services like accounts production, management accounts, VAT returns, tax returns, and of course support for Xero itself. In this video, I'm going to be giving away a free month-end checklist for use with Xero. These are all the things you should be ticking off when you get to the end of the month. So please do head down to the description below for the download link. So let's get into the video. Right, so here we are. We're looking at the Xero Dashboard. Okay, so this is the first thing you see when you log in. I'm actually on the demo company. I've just clicked on the name at the top left and selected demo company. You can see my mouse now. There, clicked on the top left and selected demo company. There's a bit of content on here. They've got data already, which is good because it gives us something to work with. Okay, so just a quick recap of what we learnt in the introduction. There's 4 steps to the bookkeeping. Step 1 is recording income. Step 2 is recording expenditure. Step 3 is reconciling the bank account. And step 4 is checking for errors. Right, so we're back on the dashboard now. What we're going to have a look at is step 1, adding your income. Okay, so that's your sales invoices. So we're going to head over to business, invoices. Okay, you'll see there's many here already on the demo company. You're going to just click on new invoice. Okay, you'll notice that there's a little warning comes up. Xero now has a better way to invoice with auto saving, a clean layout and more. Try it now. I wouldn't click that. It's very sort of mobile and tablet friendly. I would definitely be more likely to use this. It's a bit nicer. Okay, so we're going to create an invoice, just a fake one. You may have some real ones that need to go on. Okay, so let's make the assumption that we are a spoon manufacturing company. We'll stick with that example, and we're making a sale to another company. So ABC Limited, so that's the name of the company. No contacts found, but we're going to add it as a new contact, and you can just hit tab to do that. What's the date? Well, let's say it was the 20th of November. But really we're wanting to set as the tax date for that invoice. You've got the drop down calendar, or you can, if I can just do it, 20/11/20, or even just 20, and it will fill in the current month and year when we hit tab. There we go. Due date, you've got the same options again. you can drop down calendar or type it in. Or if you have, say, payment terms of 30 days or 7 days, anything like that, you can say plus 30. That's when I want to be paid by. 30 days from the 20th of November, and it will fill it in. Invoice number. Okay, so you might have your own invoice numbers that you want to go from. Okay, if not, just leave it. You can leave it as it is. But if you do want to go from a specific number in a specific format, you can sort of reconfigure this to say what you like. You can override it, or we can, in the background settings, we can change that. That's a video for another day, but you can always speak to your accountant about that if you want to make the default different going forwards. Reference. I wouldn't necessarily bother with that at the moment. If you accept purchase orders, you could probably reference that, or a quote or something like that, but for now I'm just going to leave that. Branding. Now that is the invoice theme. Okay, so we'll stick with standard for now, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. Go straight down to item. This is for stock. Okay, so if you weren't managing stock on Xero, you'd be able to select an item of stock. Okay, so there is on the demo company. I wouldn't bother with that now as a beginner. I would just learn how to just fill an invoice in automatically on its own. So description. So let's say 100 spoons. Okay, quantity. Well, quantity. You've got the option. You can put 100 in and put the unit price. Let's say it's 50p, so 0.5. Hit tab, and that will calculate the cost at £50. Or you might just want to put quantity 1 and unit price of £50 for the bulk sale. Okay, discount. I don't really bother with that column. I don't find it particularly useful because it calculates its own discount based on a percentage. I'd be more inclined to do an additional line and put a negative unit price in for the amount of the discount. Okay, but in this case we're just going to keep things simple. Now, account. So if you remember from before, we had that long list of categories. Okay, so this is where we now select the appropriate category, which is inevitably sales or something similar. You might have another sales account, but in this case, just sales. Okay, if you're VAT registered, you want to be accounting for VAT properly. So this is where you select the VAT code, 20% VAT on income, let's say. Region, don't worry about that, that's on the demo company, that's a tracking category. That's what that's called. These are things that you can configure in the background settings for Xero. So say if you want to track staff, or if you want to track departments or locations like region, or a specific, but anything really actually, you can track it by in the settings, adding that tracking category with a few different options, and then on your transactions, what your invoices, your expenses, anything really, you get the option to select a tracking category. So we're just going to ignore that for now though, but that's something to just be aware of. So here we are, we've nearly finished. We just need to check that the total is correct. Now we've got £50, and you can see the VAT is £8.33, so that's included within the £50. Let's say that really this unit price is before VAT. We want to actually add VAT on. Well, that's where we need to change the settings here. So tax inclusive is selected at the moment. We need to select tax exclusive. And you can see it's calculated £50 plus VAT. So that's plus £10 to get 60 quid. And we're happy. You can save it as a draft. Okay, that's a bit like a quote as well. You do have a separate quoting feature, but we'll leave that for now. We're just going to hit approve. There we go, so that's approved. Now, you'll notice at the bottom it says receive a payment. That's because Xero doesn't know it's been paid yet, and it probably hasn't. So we'll leave that for now. Let's have a look at the PDF version of the invoice. So this is the basic template. So you'll see your logo, obviously see all the data pulling through, and excuse me, and the customer name. If the customer's got an address, you can add that information in, and it will display underneath just here. Payment advice. So here it's saying please pay. This is like if you were enclosing a check, but you can view and pay online. Okay, so that's an option if you have a payment service connected to Xero. Right, which we're not going to cover today, but something to be aware of. So that's the PDF version. You've also got the option to email the invoice, so I might just want to email myself. Okay, it pulls in a lot of standard text, which you can configure in the settings. You can include the PDF as an attachment and send that off. Let's just have a look at where that invoice is on Xero. Where is it stored? Well, I'll take you back to the dashboard first. Okay, so we're going to go to Business, Invoices. Okay, we can find it in all or awaiting payment because we know it's not been paid. We can also search. So it was ABC Limited, wasn't it? So we search for that. There we go. You'll notice that anything in blue text is clickable, so that's where we can drill down and open up the invoice again. So this is where we could go if we wanted to now record a payment against the invoice. So let's say, let's just go through a couple of examples actually of how you might be paid. So if say you've been paid into the current account, and you've got a bank feed set up for that already, well, in that case, I wouldn't necessarily go onto this receive a payment feature and put it on manually, because eventually you're going to see that payment come up on the reconciling page when you reconcile the bank, and you'll be able to match those up. Okay, so potentially just leave this as it is for now until we see that payment come in. But maybe you've received cash. Okay, now if you've received cash, there's no such thing as a bank feed for a cash account, so you need to tell Xero that you've received that cash. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's say we received it on the same day. So we got the full £60 on the 20th of November, and it was paid to, okay, well, I don't think we have a cash account on the dashboard, but we do have owner array drawings. So let's say the owner took that. Other reasons you might want to receive a payment like this, say if you have a card machine perhaps, and a few invoices are being paid, and you know it's going to be a little bit difficult to match up with them. It might be charges involved, so you want to put those payments on now. So let's do that. We're going to say that £60 was paid on the 20th. Okay, tab, where was it paid to? Well, let's just say it was paid to the main business bank account. Okay, reference, that could be anything. That could be your client reference or something like that. I'm going to just leave it blank and we'll add the payments. Right, so you'll see that the awaiting payment tab has one less invoice in it. It's now in the paid tab. Okay, and if we go back to the dashboard, we can see that in the business bank account, so if we were to click on this, don't click on the blue button, but we would click on business bank account and look at all our transactions. Okay, we can see here £60 has been received. It's a payment to payment from ABC Limited. Okay, so it's unreconciled at the moment, as in we've not, reconciling is when we've checked it off against the actual bank statement. Just to show you some of the other invoicing features. Okay, so we're back in the invoices section, so this is under business invoices. Okay, you do have the new invoice button, but you also have a repeating invoice. Okay, so say if you have a client or customer that you're charging monthly and you want to raise an invoice every month, you can do that there. You can also raise a credit note, so that's if you're giving a refund, say, that's when you use that. You can send statements as well, which is great. But probably the most important one that you'll want to know at the moment is quotes. So adding a quote first. So that's under business quotes. Okay. If we do a new quote, you'll see that it's very, very similar to the new sales invoice facility. So let's have a look. Let's do another one. ABC Limited. Expired plus 30 days. You've got a quote number, a reference. Let's say this time it's 200 spoons. Okay, you can add your terms here and click save or send. Okay, so I'm just going to save this. Okay, so obviously once it's sent, it will show in the sent tab, and they will receive an email, your customer will receive an email with a button on to either accept or decline. So once it's accepted, it will show here. And we can actually turn it into an invoice, which is quite handy. So let's say on this draft, it was sent. Okay, actually I don't want to send it, I just want to turn it into an invoice. So I'm just going to copy to invoice. Okay, which you could do from the approved tab as well. There we go. So this is the new invoice page, so we could then approve that, so just like we did before. So that's a quote. That's the main sort of features that we need to look at for invoicing. Repeating invoices, credit notes, that's for another time, but this is how to raise an invoice and send it. So let's have a look now at our bills, our expenditure, because those need to go on as well. So we go to business, bills to pay. Okay, you'll see it's a very, very similar page to the sales. So we want to do a new bill. Let's say we have a pile of receipts. Okay, we could have bills, like proper A4 bills. We could have really small receipts. I would probably put them all on as bills. Treat them the same. If you are new to bookkeeping and perhaps you're not wanting to scan receipts and things like that, you'd happy to just do bog standard bookkeeping just to understand the basics properly, then I would keep the physical copy and just reference them. So on your pile of receipts, start from one and carry on. Just reference them at the top of the receipt or the bill, and then file them away once you put them on Xero. So let's say first of all we've got a small receipt from Staples because we've bought some stationery. Okay, so we'll start filling in the details now. So who's it from? Well, it's from Staples. Tab. What day did I get the receipt? Well, I actually got it today, so I'm happy with 25th of November there. Due date. Well, it was paid on the spot, so we don't really have a due date. We just put the same date in, so plus 0 days, tab. Reference. Well, this is the very first receipt I put on Xero, so I'm just going to put a 1 and I'll write a 1 on the receipt itself. Hit tab until I get to description. I'm not bothered about item because again that's for stock, that's more advanced. Description, well, this is stationery, isn't it? That's what I bought. Quantity, okay, this is where I can just put quantity 1 and I can just put the price. So let's say it was £20 and 35 pence. Tab. That's how much I spent. And I don't really need to do a full breakdown. I might have bought 4 or 5 different things, but it's all stationery. So there's not really any point in breaking it down. Because at the end of the day, it's all going to go to this one account, isn't it? So we're going to try and find a stationery account. Spell it right. There we go, printing and stationery. Tab. So you'll notice there that I didn't use the drop-down facilities and search through like that. I just had to think, well, what's a likely name? Stationery. Start typing it in. And then I can either hit tab when it's highlighted blue or click on it to select it. Tax rate, well, that's what you will see on your receipt. You'll know if you've paid VAT because your receipt will legally has to say. And in this example, yes, we have paid for VAT on top of that. Or, yeah, we'll just say it's inclusive actually. Okay, then I would do approve and add another. Okay, so let's have a look at the third step now, which is reconciling the bank account. Let's head over to the dashboard where we can see our accounts. Okay, so you can see we've got a business bank account, so that's a current account, and a savings account. So we're just going to look at this one now. It's obviously the demo company data, but basically what's been happening is it's pulled in a copy of those transactions from your online banking, and you should see it should say a certain number of items are there to be reconciled. So let's have a look at the demo company data. Okay, so we can see on the left hand side this is the copy of the bank statement. So here we've got 2 columns, so we've got spend money and received money. Okay, so this is mostly likely going to be income or capital introduced, things like that, and then our general expenditure. On the right hand side, this is going to be where we decide what to do with the transactions. There's a few options. We can either match, create, transfer or discuss. Find and match is the same as match, by the way. So let's just take them in turn. Match is when you want to match a payment against an invoice or bill. Okay, so in this case we've got money that's being spent. So this is, and you can see here the description is rent. So this ideally would be matched up against a bill for the rent. Okay, and in this example, what Xero has done is it's given us a suggestion. It said it's found a bill. We know it's a bill because that symbol there means it's oh sorry, that's a bank transaction actually. Let's just have a look. It's technically a payment against a bill. Okay, let's click on find and match just for a bit more detail about the match. Okay, and we've got payment there, so let's just open that payment up in a new tab. Okay, so this is a payment that someone has manually put against this bill. They've gone to the bottom of the bill and they've said, right, this was paid on the 15th of November from the business bank account. So that's actually fine. I mean it's the right bill. It's we already know that payment's occurred. So we can click OK. We can reconcile that transaction. The reason it's actually come up green is purely because of the number, the amount matches up. That's all Xero does, is it finds a match on the amount. So you do have to just check the description is correct. You're matching up to the right thing, not the wrong thing. So let's click OK for that one. Okay. So you can see it's disappeared, and we'll carry on reconciling. Ridgeway University, it says here on the bank statement that this is for invoice 35. Okay, now this is an invoice. Okay, so it's not a payment on an invoice that's been put to the bank account. This is an actual invoice that's left outstanding on the system that Xero has said, oh, this invoice is exactly the same amount as this payment that we've received. Looks like you've got a match. And it is indeed exactly the right thing because the invoice number is the same. So we would click OK on that. if we were to click OK, and then we maybe search for invoice 35. Oh, it's not letting me do it on the demo organisation, but if we go to Invoices, search for invoice 35, click on it there, you can see it's now paid. We've now matched that payment up. It says there, reconciled, just now. Right, cross that tab off, back to the reconciliation page. Okay. Right, so as I said before, there's match, create, transfer, discuss. We've just done a couple of matches there. They were nice and easy. But let's have a look at create. So create is when, say, you don't have anything to match up against. It could be something like a direct debit, where you're not going to put the bill on every month, say for your mobile phone bill. So if you sort of saw 02 and £25 going out every single month, you know, chances are you're not matching up to a bill. You're going to be using create and just filling in the details of that transaction. So let's try and find one here. Cooper Street Bakery. Okay. Well, first of all, we want to check, do we have anything we can match up against? Let's try and match. So this is the first time I've done it, so there could be a Cooper Street Bakery. No, there isn't. Spell it right. Bakery. Okay, I don't think there's anything there. There's no receipt for that on the system. So we can't find a match, and we know there's nothing for £15.75 because it would have come up. So we're gonna default now to create. So who is it? Well, it's Cooper Street Bakery. Okay. What is it? What is the transaction? Well, it's probably a lunch, I would imagine. Whoever's doing the bookkeeping will inevitably have some idea of what that is. But it's probably lunch or breakfast for the office. I would say that's something like general expenses or travel maybe. But for now, we'll just put it to general expenses. Okay. And why? Well, I wouldn't bother with a description. It's fairly obvious what that is. Don't forget that there's little faded out bit here, which is quite important as well. You don't want to ignore that, because you've got region, so that's your tracking category, which we looked at before, which we're just going to ignore in our demo today. But you've got VAT rate as well, which is the important one. Now, I don't have a receipt here, so unless I get one and put it on so I can match up against it, if I don't do that, and I use create, I can't really say that there's VAT on it. Even if I think there is, to be honest, because really you need to have the receipt. So we're going to put no VAT and click OK. Okay, there we go. Let's have another look at a transaction where we're using create. Well, here we go. Ridgeway Banking Corporation fee. Okay, so that's just a bank charge. Okay, for this account that we're in. And you'll see here that Xero has actually filled in some of the details for us. Now that's called auto suggestion. It's just remembered what's happened last time the bank statement came up with this sort of detail, and what we did with it. So we've already done this before. We've put Ridgeway Bank in here, bank fees and bank fee there, and clicked OK. So that's why it's coming up again. Just remembered it. So we'll click OK. We're happy with that one. Let's have a look at this as well. In fact, Cooper Street Bakery there. If we click refresh now, it might remember that we've just done Cooper Street Bakery. There we go. So we've refreshed the page and now it's remembered what we did last time. Okay, so we'll click OK. Parking. Now that's another one where you're not always going to have a receipt for parking. So we'll just double check first. We'll use match. Okay, we'll see if there's any sort of parking receipts or bills. No, there's not. Okay, so we're going to use create. So who is it? It's Central City Parking. What is it? Well, it's a travel expense. Okay, I wouldn't put VAT on it because you don't know that there is VAT on that. There we go. Okay, so we've looked at a couple of creates there. So what else do we have? So we've match, create. We've also got transfer. Okay, so transfer is if, say, you're moving money between accounts which are on Xero. So you know which bank accounts are on Xero because they'll be either on your dashboard. Okay, so we've got the business bank account and business savings account, or they'll be in your bank accounts section, because sometimes things can be hidden on the dashboard, and the bank account section definitely shows all of them. You can see here, tick to show on dashboard. Okay, back to the reconciliation page. Let's try and find an example of a transfer. E-bank deposit. I think that probably could be one. I can just double check actually. Let me just see. There's nothing in there. Okay. Right. Just for the sake of this example then, we're going to assume that this is actually money transferred from the savings account into this current account. So we're going to say it's a transfer from the savings account. Reference, I'm not bothered. Just click OK. There we go. Okay, so that's transfer. Final option is discuss. Okay, so you can see here, so someone's already left a comment because they're not quite sure what to do with this invoice. So, so that's where you just type a message in. You could leave a message for your accountant. Make sure you hit save. Depending on your settings, they'll either get notified automatically through Xero, or just see how you get on, leave a few comments, and if you're with Xoba, then just yeah, let us know, give us a ring, say you've made some comments, can we have a look at your Xero, and we can take you through it, even on the phone actually, we can look at the same screen together and get anything reconciled that you need help with. But let's have a look at a few more examples. There's a few different considerations to think about. So, city limousines. Okay, so this is obviously income, it's money coming in, and on the bank statement we can see 0017 part. Now, I think what that means is City Limousines is paying the company £100 for invoice 17, but they're only part paying it. Okay, maybe it's a deposit. So we still want to match up to an invoice. Okay, so we still want to match, but it's going to be a part payment. So let's do a quick search for, we could either search for City Limousines or just 0017. There we go, City Limousines, dated the 29th of August, and they're making a part payment on the 16th of November for £100. Well, that makes sense, £100, that looks perfectly reasonable. So we're going to select that, but we can't click reconcile, and there's no OK button just yet, because obviously the amount doesn't match, the total is out by £150. This is where we need to click split, and it will automatically be able to work out that we're making a part payment of £100. So we'll confirm that, and then we'll click OK. So if we were to go now and have a look at that invoice, search for 0017, okay, you'll see that that payment, £100, is there against that £250. So you've only got £150 outstanding. Great, let's move on. So we've got a deposit, looks like it's in advance. We'll come to that in a minute. Smart agency, okay. In the description on the bank statement, we've got two numbers there. I would imagine that they are two bills being paid off in one go. So let's match. Let's find and match. So we're going to search for smart. Okay, and we can see here. So we've got 0195, so which is that one, and 0210, which is that one. Okay. Perfect, nice and easy. So it's gone green now because we've got a perfect match. So we'll click OK, and those are done. Okay, let's have a look, see what this is. So 7/11, £15.50 on the 18th of November. Now it's come up with the create tab, but it's in blue. It's already got some information filled in. Okay, well this is a rule. You can see here it's applying rule 7/11. Well, let's just open that up in a new tab. See what it says. Okay, so a rule has been made so that whenever the payee on the bank statement contains the word 11, it's going to set the contact as 7/11. It's going to put the description as Miss Corner Store, the account as 49 general expenses, and it's going to put the tax rate as 20% on 20% VAT. We don't want to get too bogged down with the details here, but it's just saying 100% of the transaction is going to go to there. You can actually split it up more if you like and include fixed value items as well, but generally speaking, when you're using a spend money rule, pretty much it's all just going to go to one place. Okay, the reference will be set from the reference, fine. Run this rule on all bank accounts, fine. Give the rule a title, 7/11. Okay, so we can see what's happening. It's just found the word 11 on the bank statement and it's putting it to general expenses with VAT. So if we cross this off, okay, we know that that's fine. It's found the word 11 and it's assumed it is 7/11 and it's using create to record that transaction. And it's fine, so we'll click OK. But let's say we want to make our own bank rule. It's quite a helpful thing to do because it speeds up your reconciliation. And it may be that something like parking, you might not have many receipts for. You might know just off the top of your head that parking, you just don't get receipts for that. So, but every time you have it on the bank statement, it always says the word parking. Okay, if that's the case, well, let's create a rule. Let's go in Options, Create Bank Rule, and I want to say any time that any text field on the bank statement contains the word parking, I want the contact to be parking, because there might be multiple car parks, you see, and we don't want to have to create numerous rules. We just want one for parking. You can add a description, but the account is obviously going to be travel, and we'll assume it's 0 rated or no VAT, because we've got no VAT receipt. And it's filled in the rest for us. To be honest, the main thing is we get the account in and the VAT rate right, and we also put the correct conditions here. And I nearly always do any text field contains and then the word I want. It's much more inclusive. Save. Okay, right, so if we just scroll down, Central City Parking is applying our parking rule. Okay. Another one. Okay, great. I mean, are there any more? Because if it's quite a regular thing. There we go. That's all the parking ones done. And obviously there's another 7/11 we can just OK. Okay, so let's go back to the start. We'll just get rid of the remaining transactions that are there. Swanton Security. Okay, so I'd be thinking first of all, well, nothing's come up in green, but it doesn't mean there's no match. Maybe we just need to search for Swanston. So let's search for Swans. Ah, fantastic. Look at this. So there was a bill. We know it's a bill because if we just hover over it, it says it's a bill, and that's the symbol. And we can open it up in a new tab by right-clicking on it. So it's a repeating bill. Okay, not much more information than that. 59.54, but what's been paid is 59.55, and that's probably just human error. We still want to match up to that because it's clearly the right invoice. Not much more information, but let's say we know it is the right invoice, which it is. We want to select it. We can't reconcile yet because it's out by a penny. We need to make an adjustment, and we need to make a minor adjustment. Okay, and we type in the difference. So if the total's out by 1 pence, we type in 0.01. If the total was out by minus 1 pence, you'd have to type in minus 1 penny. Okay, let's click OK. There we go, that's dealt with. Okay, we'll try and get through a few more. Wilson online periodicals. I mean, that looks right to me, but the sub reference is different, which just looks a bit strange to me. I'd probably match up to that though, actually, because that's actually a payment. Sorry, it's a, what would you call it? A spend money. So someone's already said that that bank transaction has occurred. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, if we have a look at account transactions, and when was it? It was the 20th of November. If we have a look at account transactions, we can see here that it's in the account, but it's not been reconciled. It's not been ticked off the bank statements, as it were. So that's definitely right. It said it's happened, so let's just click OK and match up. Okay. E-bank deposit, so we're assuming like before early on that that's a transfer from the savings account, so click OK. Another Wilson online periodicals, and again it's something that's it's a payment where it's a money received that's been put to the account but it's not been reconciled yet, so I'm happy with that. The dates look good, the amount's obviously right. Click OK. Central City Parking, it's following the rule again, so we'll click OK. Let's have a look at something a bit more difficult. Here we go. So we've got a deposit in advance, okay, of £2,000 from Jacaranda Maple Systems. So let's try and match first of all. If we're receiving money like that, we should have an invoice on the system. Nothing for Jacaranda, nothing at all. Maple, no. Okay, right. So we've received it in advance, and we haven't put an invoice on at all yet, as of yet. So really, we still need to account for it. So what we can do is we can do create, because there's nothing to match up to yet, and we need to add some more details. Okay. Now this is where you could actually, if we just ignored the fact that this was a deposit in advance, if this was another transaction where we wanted to use the create feature, but perhaps we wanted to add more than one line of detail, this is where we could do it. Okay, because it's very much like the appearance of the invoices and the bills feature on Xero. In this case, what we're going to do though is we want to receive a deposit in advance. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change this top bit here. So where it says received as direct payment, we're going to change that to prepayment, because they've paid in advance, so it's a prepayment. Okay, so what account are we going to put it to? Well, we could just stick it to sales for now, to be honest. Okay, that's the main thing. We click save. And later on we'd be able to match up that prepayment to the invoice once we've raised it. But for now that's dealt with. Okay, Whitcoulls, I'm not sure what that is that? Let's see what that is. National Bookstore Stationery Gifts in New Zealand. Okay. There we go. Xero is originally from New Zealand. So let's say that's stationery. So we try and find a match first. Search for Whitcoulls. No, nothing there. I'd stick that to stationery with no VAT. Okay, right. I think we've done quite a good few examples there. I'll just check the last one. Yeah, so there's only 7 left to reconcile. We don't need to get those done. It's pretty much the same as what we've already done now. And let's have a look at the account transaction. So we've reconciled. So the number of items to reconcile has gone down. And what's happened is they've disappeared from this page and they go into the account transactions tab. So now we'll see a few we'll see a few transactions that we've done. So 7-Eleven, quite a lot of the recent ones. You know, we've put those on just now. So that's where they go. Let's say you've made a mistake. Okay, so that's, say that parking or the 7-Eleven, you need to remove and redo it. Well, you can tick them on the left, click remove and redo. Likewise, you can drill down into the transaction, click options and remove and redo there. I would avoid using unreconcile. A little bit complicated to explain just at the moment. We'll get onto that in a later video, but I try to avoid that and just use remove and redo if you want to correct something. And then, as expected, that will take us back to the reconciliation page, and that transaction will be there ready to reconcile again. Just let it load. Yeah, I think it was that one. That was the one. Okay, so that's where they go. Now you'll notice that there's a few things left to reconcile. So this £60 here. That's one we put on before. That was the ABC Limited one. Well, let's say that was a mistake. If that was a mistake, we can click here. Okay. In fact, let's go to the let's go straight to the invoice. Just because, if we want to delete an invoice, this is something that catches people out quite a bit. If we want to delete an invoice or edit certain aspects of it, we would normally go to invoice options and then click edit. You'll see that there's no void option or remove and redo option, so we can't delete it just yet. And if we click edit, we're limited in what we can change. And the reason for that is because we've got a payment against it. So really we need to delete the payment first before we can then make serious changes or delete the invoice itself. So let's click on the payment. Let's click on options, remove and redo. So that's the payment gone. It should take us to the invoice again. You'll see now it's showing as outstanding. So we'll click on remove. We'll click on invoice options, sorry, and then click void. Okay. So that invoice has disappeared. Okay. So if we click on the dashboard again, go back to the account transactions for the bank account, you'll see that where we had that £60 orange unreconciled line here, that's now disappeared. Because ideally what we want to do is we want everything to be green and reconciled in this account. And that's part of the error checking in step 4, which we're going to look at now. Okay, so we're back on the dashboard. I'm going to look at error checking. It's the 4th step, and it's probably one of the most important things when it comes to the bookkeeping on Xero. There's not many issues with Xero, to be honest. It is an excellent piece of software, but human error is quite an easy thing to happen. So we want to just make sure that we've covered all bases in the bookkeeping and got the books right. So first of all, what we want to have a look at is making sure that we've reconciled everything correctly. So let's just have a look at these 3 dots, and then we're going to click on reconciliation report. Okay, so it's running at today's date. Now, I would tend to do it at the end of a month, but I'm happy we just do it at today's date for now. We're assuming that all the transactions are pulled in up to date correctly. So on the 25th of November, you'll see here the statement balance is just over 17,000. There's an imported statement balance as well. Okay, now that is what's that's come directly from the bank, from the bank feed. Now what happens is your accountant will sometimes make corrections to the bank statement on Xero, which is right. It does need to be done very often. So you'll have an actual statement balance of that. So I would just ignore your imported statement balance. That's the figure there for your actual statement balance that matters. And that is different to the balance in Xero. Okay, so the balance in Xero comes from, if I just find it, Okay, the balance in zero there, it's what's actually in the account transactions tab, 16,182. And it's out. Why is it out? 20th November. We've got a future transaction in there. so that's why that's slightly different. So 16,182, that's more in line with what we were looking at. I'll just go back to what it was before. 16,593. Okay, obviously slightly different there. And why is it different? Well, this middle section tells you why. We've got unreconciled bank statement lines. So that is just the reconciliation page. We just need to deal with these transactions. Okay, but you can also have other reasons. So let's just have a look at another reason. I'll have to create it. I'm going to unreconcile a transaction. Okay, so here we've got an unreconciled transaction for Ridgeway Bank. So this is, I think, bank charges, £15. Okay, it's not been dealt with yet. So if we have a look at the reconciliation report again, you'll see that it will also display that. It will display plus outstanding payments. Okay, so we know how to deal with unreconciled bank statement lines. We just need to reconcile them. But outstanding payments or receipts, that's when we need to go to the account transactions for the bank. We need to have a look through and find it and deal with it. Okay, so in this case, we know that we actually just need to go to the reconciliation tab and match that £15 against this transaction, and then it will go green. It will show as reconciled. But there's other things that could happen. It could be that you've got a payment for a receipt that's been posted to this bank account, but in reality it was from another bank account, or perhaps it was actually cash, and whoever's done the bookkeeping has just put it there in the current account. So it's a good thing to look for these orange unreconciled transactions. Make sure that there aren't any, because if there are, it's either an error or you still need to finish the bookkeeping. Okay, right, so that's the bank reconciliation summary, or the bank reconciliation report. Okay, so that's really important for error checking. It's the first thing I would do. Next up, for error checking, we've got a couple of reports. We've got the aged payables summary and the aged receivables summary. So let's click on aged receivables first. So this is receivables, so it's receiving money. So this is your sales, and at today's date you can see here we have got money owing to us. So this is what the aged receivables shows. It shows us the outstanding balances on our sales invoices at a particular date. Now I would be looking at this report and thinking, okay, so I've got a lot of stuff still outstanding for the current month, which is what I'd expect. Maybe something for that's a month old, but as I get down through the months, I'll be thinking, is that really still owing? Especially if you've got an older column full of outstanding invoices. It's very likely that you haven't actually done the bookkeeping properly. You need to find those payments and you need to match them up against those invoices. If we have a look at the other report, so the aged payables summary, it's the same game again, but this time looking at your supplier balances. Okay, this is definitely more likely to be out compared to your aged receivables, because generally whoever's looking at whoever's doing the invoicing is usually getting it fairly spot on. But when it comes to bills, that's something that you do when you can, at the end of the week or at the end of the month. More likely to get errors for it. So I'd be looking at the older columns again and addressing any issues there. If we take the staples one, for example, so I'll just make a few quick changes. So I've just set the date back a bit. Let's cross those tabs off. Update. Okay, so Staples one, you know, that's in the older column. Now that sticks out like a sore thumb on this report. So this is where I would be drilling down. Just let it load. There we go. My internet does cut out every now and again, unfortunately. So we'll drill down. So this is showing all the invoices on the Staples account that are outstanding. So it's just the one. So click on it again. Takes us to the bill itself. Okay. So it's a bill from the 1st of June. It's obviously quite old. It shouldn't be showing as outstanding. Okay. So this is where we know there's a problem. We now need to correct it. So you'd find the receipt and just have a look what's really going on. How was it paid, basically, and then it would very often turn out to be the case that it was paid with cash, and the cash payment hasn't been recorded on Xero, which is why it's still showing there as outstanding. So let's pop that on. So make a payment. It was the 1st of June. Paid from. Okay, well, you could say it's paid from. This is where you could select a cash account if you had it on there, or it may be owner Ray funds introduced. Maybe the business owner has just paid it out of his own or her own pocket, and then we'll add the payment. Okay, so that's the error checks that I would suggest that you do every time you do your bookkeeping, certainly at the month ends. Just to check everything's fine. You do have other reports that you can use, though, not necessarily for error checking, but for just checking up on your business. And the main ones, I would say, well, actually, the main one is the profit and loss report. That's what you want to know usually. So accounting and profit and loss, that's where you'd go. Okay, run it for any dates that you like. You can actually compare different periods. You can filter. This is actually the tracking categories that we've mentioned, so that's the regions. We're not bothered about that in this example, but just so you're aware, you can actually filter out by the tracking categories that you set up. And then we can see your profit and loss, your performance. So just to take you through a profit and loss report, if you've not seen one before, it shows your turnover, so that's your income. It then removes, well, it takes off the cost of all your purchases to give you your gross profit. Okay. After that comes all your administrative costs, or you might call them overheads, which is basically all the other general expenses that you have in your business, to leave you with your operating profit. You may also see tax here as well, if you're a company, and that would be something that your accountant will post. Okay. Right, so that's profit and loss. Just to show you the comparisons as well, you can do a monthly comparison. So if we change that to the 1st of March 21 and we compare with previous 11 periods, well, we're showing a full year then, aren't we? And it's broken down into each month. So we've done quite well in October, and we can see we've done quite poorly in June in terms of generating income. So it's quite a handy report to just be aware of. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've learned something today. If you have any questions at all, please do leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe. There's a lot more content to come, so don't miss out. And I'll see you next video.